Oh, shit. Okay. Sorry, I had a little bit of too much of the Joker toxification. Because, boy, good old Celeblade, the game that would be easily Game of the Year, has suffered from false promises and, of course, the big C. Let's talk about it. The review embargo of Celeblade has come and gone through. The game is actually released to the public, and it is 1 day away from a date I'd rather not talk about. I had absolutely no hope for Celeblade when the developers were going on about how the game was going to be uncensored across all versions, and knowing that the game was going to be, well, released exclusively on the Sony console. Speaking of Sony console, I'm going to have to kind of call out a certain OG YouTuber, good old AliRx, are going on about how he's not going to buy one game for one system when, I'm sorry dude, we've all done this. Whether it be Resident Evil 4 for the GameCube, Jet Set Radio Future, which is still an Xbox exclusive, even any game that's on the PS2, that's only on the PS2 and not technically part of the Sony brand, I really don't want to fucking hear it right now. And not to mention, even you yourself are citing that this game is Game of the Year, but aren't wanting to buy one game for that one system. That is a load of crap. And I fucking hate this mindset, dude. We've all done this. Hell, people have done that for games like Bloodborne. By this fucking logic, people shouldn't buy Bloodborne just for the PS4. And you fucking still say that the game should be ported to PC. It's gonna be almost 10 damn years the game's been out, and people are still crying for a PC port. Maybe just buy a PS4 or PS5 if you're able to, and just play the fucking game. Long plays and Let's Plays can only get you so far. If you people claim it's the greatest game of all time but not even playing it, yeah, that kind of says something. I guess it's okay to blindly praise a game, but blindly hating it is somehow an issue. I think both sides are fucking stupid, but let's get back to the real topic, because I could go on all fucking day about that stupid shit. More so than the so-called controversy with the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door controversy running at 30 frames per second. Yeah, this is nothing new. I have personally not looked at much gameplay of it, seeing that the game from the demo was just basically a Souls-like, or whatever the fuck we want to call anything that has anything to do with any genre. Even Phantom Fury is being called a half-light when, first of all, it's one of the worst bosses in Dark Souls 3, and second of all, you already got Red Faction, so what the fuck? It wants to take ideas from other genres and just do them in the worst ways possible. Playing games like Akiba's Trip or even Octopath Traveler is more of a refreshing take than having the sluggish combat since 2008, maybe revamped in 2011, but can't actually evolve the series past that. I made it firmly clear in my other video that I'm just not interested in playing a game that inherits Souls-like gameplay. You know, this fucking clunky ass gameplay is just so tiring to me. It really is. I can't stand it. Because they want to push that these games are so fucking hard, but limit the player in such ridiculous ways. At least when the game was initially announced, people were expecting it to be like a Nier Automata clone or a Bayonetta clone in gameplay clone only, whatever the hell you want to call it. Can't call it Quino. But then as the game goes on, it was revealed to be one of those slow-paced Souls-like games, and I don't care if it's a Souls-light or a Souls-like, it still has Souls in the genre, so I'm just not interested in that type of game. And it was going to be open world, which I guess people are fine with if they can get their fucking tits out. And that it's a Sony exclusive, which should have been the absolute red flag for these people, but they really want the horny and they think that Sony has changed, except they literally fucking didn't. They literally did not, as a wise lord once says. And said Lord is past expired. Developers have basically lied to the consumers, saying that the game would be uncensored across all platforms, and people are pointing the fingers at Sony. Well, honestly, I'm going to blame both parties, because they're basically promising something that is so unrealistic that people fall for anyway, and then they get mad at Sony for basically ruining it. This actually reminds me of Doom Eternal, and no, I'm not pulling a male reference, I'm actually being serious. There was supposed to be an invasion mode for Doom Eternal that would basically have invasions a la Mindjack. And yes, I know that Dark Souls is the game that popularized this type of gameplay, but honestly, I think invasions a la Mindjack can be really interesting if it's under the hands of a good developer, but they basically promised something, but then they went against it, and it's been long since forgotten and replaced with a shitty wave-based survival mode that has one gimmick, and that's it. And people were fine with it because of a certain C19 that was going on at the time. And I think that's bullshit. If you're going to deliver on a promise and you don't even do it, that not only ruins your reputation, but it also questions people's standards on whether a game like this is acceptable, because you get a game that's just enjoyable and that's it. You know, I'm going to be a complete asshole about this, just like I said on the X Twitter. But this is what you people wanted. You wanted this game to be Game of the Year because it's just like the PS2 days, but then you'll use that argument if a game looks bad, which I think is fucking stupid. The PS2, whether you use progressive scan or not, ran games at 60 frames a second, and they didn't have to push this narrative that it's going to be the best thing ever, or that it promises 60 frames. They just fucking did it. Sure, the budget wasn't as big as, say, The Last of Us or any successful IP worth a damn, but they still made games. And that's what it's always been about, is the games. But people have such ridiculous mindsets. And I don't care that, oh, the game is fun, just let people have fun, but this breaks every fucking rule within the general consensus of the gaming community. It's PS5 exclusive, track record from Sony, turning out Big Brother in 2018 or whatever. Hell, they killed off some of the best IPs that you people still want remasters of or remakes or whatever, even though people get tired of that shit. Literally living in the past and calling other people living in the past. Selling one thing instead of the actual gameplay. Like, I think I've seen people talk more about the fucking discourse over the fucking game than the game itself, which I guess is okay now because we're pointing out actual flaws, but we're not supposed to focus on the sexuality of women or men in general, but you're supposed to see them as more than just a sex object, but then the game is barely being talked about because it's a video game and not some erotic game or whatever the fuck. It's just an action game that so happens to have a sexy female protagonist that's captured from a real 3D lady, as Noru once put it. It's just fucking bullshit, dude. Like, legit. Sure, the game might be fun, but I don't care about that anymore. Developers broke a promise, and they should be ashamed. And I don't give a fuck if Sony intervened or not. Both parties are at fault. Just like with Konami with Metal Gear Solid 5. And I know it's kind of a different ordeal, but people gave Hideo Kojima a pass, even though Metal Gear Solid 5 was heavily rushed. And they basically tried to excuse it, the people, by saying that the gameplay is still fun and that not everything was meddled by Konami. You know, they couldn't let poor Hideo Kojima, a niche writer of many great games, including Police Knots and Snatcher. He just wants to feed his family, don't you know? And didn't like it when the white man from America ruining his greatest works by translating certain words or whatever. It's just bullshit. I still don't like Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm sorry. That game can go fucking rock for all I care. Even the few saving moments of the game, which I can't talk about because it would be kind of spoilers, but it's still one of the more profound moments within the game's echo chamber. But it doesn't say the fact that game is so much fucking repetitive nonsense, being an open world game to boot, and it barely has anything to do with Metal Gear as far as gameplay goes. Seriously, putting scores in a game like that, a ranking system like it's Devil May Cry or some shit, is what killed it. And the micromanaging bullshit, that can go fuck off too. And the microtransactions, but it's not about that. It's about this game called Stellar Blade. A game that's not even talked about for the gameplay now. I do find it kind of stupid that people complain the game is getting good scores, when isn't that what you wanted? But oh wait, IGN gave it a 7 out of 10, so we gotta go after IGN for giving a game a 7 out of 10, even though we all did this in Doom 2016. Anything a 7 or below is certainly a fucking travesty, but we'll give Elden Ring a 10 out of 10 and saying that's actually deserved. This is fucking stupid. No one is happy with anything, dude. It's ridiculous. You get the developers who just wanted to make safe, horny game, but made promises, but then it conflicts with Sony's viewpoints that they want to make anything Japan related completely censored, which, by the way, is extremely xenophobic and is very much a draconian mindset, like a lot of anime back in, say, the 90s or whatever. But then it's the consumer's fault for basically overhyping the fuck out of the game, only for the game to just be okay. And of course the gaming journalists are to blame too, because they've been bitching about this shit for a long ass time. Ever since games like Dragon's Crown came out, a game that's actually good, but ruined because of fucking walking sacks of tits, but then giving praise to games that literally go against this very idea that games can just be sexy or whatever, which I've said time and time again, that if a game wants to be sexy, fine, but it just needs a little bit more substance. This isn't the John Carmack ideology of pornos and shit, but, you know, sometimes people just want a little bit more than that, and I don't think it's too much to fucking ask for, especially if the hype is centered around such things. It's why I like Akiba's Trip so much. Yes, it has a little fan service here and there, but I don't think it crosses the line. The exception of the massive, but the less about that, the better. It still is something that keeps you going back for more, that goes beyond, hey, look at this, you're getting to strip people's clothes off or whatever. It actually holds fucking water. People just rather talk about the sexy bits. But you're not supposed to focus on the sex apparently, because that's not what women want. Then what the fuck do you want? I honestly don't get people. What the fuck do they want? They want a hot and sexy game, but then the gameplay itself is just okay, which will be fine, except developers are literally overselling the fuck out of it. I think the best thing you can do right now to get the best possible experience of this shit, if you really want to play it, go to a storefront that sells secondhand games. Check to see if someone has traded in their physical copy of Stellar Blade. Get the game, have a PS5, and if you don't have one, buy one, but don't buy from a scalper. Play the game with the patches, and experience it yourself. Don't let influencers judge the gameplay for yourself when you haven't even played it yourself if you're that curious about it. Unless your name is Elden Ring, in which in that case you're not allowed to judge the game at all unless you fucking played it, when the gameplay is just Dark Souls 4 with open world jumping mechanics and horseback riding. Yeah, I fucking said it, and I'm still not letting that shit go. That's the only way for people to experience this in the best way possible and see if it's really worth the hype. I personally don't think it is, but if you have a PS5 and you're that curious about it, get it secondhand, play it without the patches so you can get the most reliable way of getting your rocks off or whatever, and just hopefully enjoy the game that's just okay. This is going to be a very interesting cycle of game development, and certainly a page of history. Don't oversell your game, and be careful who you market your game to, because it will create Jim Carrey's A Series of Unfortunate Events.
Bitch, get out the way! Get out the way, bitch, get out the way!
Now that I'm done rambling, I'm going to go back to, well, keeping an eye on this shit pool. Well, bye.